Okay, so here we are again, join back together, and we're gonna start off with the 10th chapter of Screwtape letters. So let's just get at it.
Letter 10. My dear Wormwood, I was delighted to hear from Triptweeze that your patient has made some very desirable new acquaintances, and that you seem to have used this event in a really promising manner. I gather that the middle-aged married couple who called at his office are just the sort of people we want him to know. Rich, smart, superficially intellectual, and brightly skeptical about everything in the world. I gather they're even vaguely pacifist, not on moral grounds, but from an ingrained habit of belittling anything that concerns the great mass of their fellow men, and from a dash of purely fashionable and literary communism. This is excellent. And you seem to have made good use of all his social, sexual, and intellectual vanity. Tell me more. Did he commit himself deeply? I don't mean in words. There's a subtle play of looks and tones and laughs, by which a mortal can imply that he is of the same party as those to whom he is speaking. That is the kind of betrayal you should specially encourage, because the man does not fully realize it himself. And by the time he does, you will have made withdrawal difficult. No doubt he must very soon realize that his own faith is in direct opposition to the assumptions on which all the conversation of his new friends is based. I don't think that matters much, provided that you can persuade him to postpone any open acknowledgement of the fact. And this, with the aid of shame, pride, modesty, and vanity, will be easy to do. As long as the postponement lasts, he will be in a false position. He will be silent when he ought to speak, and laugh when he ought to be silent. He will assume, at first only by his manner, but presently by his words, all sorts of cynical and skeptical attitudes which are not really his. But if you play him well, they may become his. All mortals tend to turn into the thing that they're pretending to be. This is elementary. The real question is how to prepare for the enemy's counter-attack. The first thing is to delay as long as possible the moment at which he realizes this new pleasure as a temptation. Since the enemy's servants have been preaching about the world as one of the great standard temptations for 2,000 years, this might seem difficult to do, but fortunately they have said very little about it for the last few decades. In modern Christian writings, though I see much, indeed more than I like, about mammon, I see few of the old warnings about worldly vanities, the choice of friends, and the value of time. All that your patient would probably classify as Puritanism, and may I remark in passing that the value that we've given to that word is one of the really solid triumphs of the last 100 years. By it we rescue annually thousands of humans from temperance, chastity, and sobriety of life. Sooner or later, however, the real nature of his new friends must become clear to him, and then your tactics must depend on the patient's intelligence. If he is a big enough fool, you can get him to realize the character of the friends only while they are absent. Their presence can be made to sweep away all criticism. If this succeeds, he can be induced to live, as I've known many humans live, for quite long periods, two parallel lives. He will not only appear to be, but will actually be a different man in each of the circles he frequents. Failing this, there is a subtler and more entertaining method. He can be made to take a positive pleasure in the perception that the two sides of his life are inconsistent. This is done by exploiting his vanity. He can be taught to enjoy kneeling beside the grocer on Sunday just because he remembers that the grocer could not possibly understand the urbane and mocking world which he inhabited on Saturday evening, and contrariwise, to enjoy the Bordian blasphemy over the coffee with these admirable friends all the more, because he is aware of a deeper spiritual world within him which they cannot understand. You see the idea? The worldly friends touch him on one side and the grocer on the other, and he is the complete, balanced, complex man who sees round them all. Thus, while being permanently treacherous to at least two sets of people, he will feel, instead of shame, a continual undercurrent of self-satisfaction. Finally, if all else fails, you can persuade him in defiance of conscience to continue the new acquaintance on the ground that he is in some unspecified way doing these people good by the mere fact of drinking their cocktails and laughing at their jokes, and that to cease to do so would be priggish, intolerant, and, of course, puritanical. Meanwhile, he would, of course, take the obvious precaution of seeing that this new development induces him to spend more than he can afford, and to neglect his work and his mother. Her jealousy and alarm and his increasing evasiveness or rudeness will be invaluable for the aggravation of the domestic tension. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.
Haha. All right, off with a bang. What caught you on this one? What do you want to go to?
Again, as before, there's so much. Let's see.
I think that we're not too far off with the description that Lewis makes, or Screwtape makes, when he says, rich, smart, and sufficiently intelligent. Brightly skeptical about everything in the world. So I know a lot of people, maybe the rich and smart part doesn't work, but the superficially intelligent part does. Thinking that they know what they're talking about when they don't. And they take great pride in knowing what they talk about. But if they think about it at all, they'll realize they don't know what they're talking about. So it seems to me they are a prime witness of what Screwtape is suggesting here. Keep them acting one way, but not actually being able to live in that space honestly. Let's see. Early fashionable communism, excellent. Yeah, I like the way he used the word betrayal. There's a subtle play of looks and tones, laughs by which the mortal can imply that he is of the same party as though whom he's speaking. This is a kind of betrayal you should especially encourage, because the man does not fully realize it himself. By the time he does, you will have made withdrawal difficult.
Making people two-faced.
Yeah, who is the betrayal to?
Where is that?
It's on the bottom of page 49 in my book. It's
like the first paragraph, I think.
Yeah, bottom of the first paragraph, 4 lines before the bottom.
Yeah, I think so. Starts off, did he commit himself deeply? I don't mean in words. There's subtle play of looks and tones and laughs. But it's the kind of betrayal you should especially encourage. Especially.
Yep.
Man does not fully realize it himself. By the time he does, you will have made withdrawal difficult.
The betrayal of his faith?
Himself.
Yeah, that's where he's starting him off there to manipulate his life in a way that is counter to his faith. So it's a betrayal, but he's saying the man himself won't realize it, and if he does, he won't be able to get out of it because he'll be in too deep. So this begins that slippery slope of him first not doing stuff that he doesn't know he's doing, and then doing stuff that he knows he's doing, but he can't get out of because,
Now he's been doing it.
Yeah, and then it keeps on going as Screwtape continues to explain it.
He's betraying himself, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The demon, the Satan, is making him betray himself.
Yep.
To others.
Let's see. I like this one. He'll be silent when he ought to speak, and laugh when he ought to be silent. So this goes back to what I was in a group that was talking about this the other day, and I've mentioned in my sermons before where I've said, have you ever been in a group with somebody and they bring up something that's vaguely Christian, or maybe even overtly Christian, or they're critical of Christians, but you don't answer, you don't say anything. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity for evangelism, right? You can get right in there and say, no, 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 no. But that would mean standing out like a sore thumb, especially if you're in a group of more than two. If you're in a group of 4 or 5 or 6 people, it'd be very unpleasant, and you would be on the hot seat. So people don't do it. They're silent when they gotta say something, and I think it's done a lot to erode in our society the impression or the understanding of what Christians are. We're kind of like under the radar because people talk about them in groups, but you can't find one in the group to talk back. And this line here, did you get this? All mortals tend to turn into the thing they are pretending to be.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me feel like when I'm with some of my college friends, they're very atheists, but they know I'm not, and so I don't hide it, and I don't know that. But we tend just not talk about religion or faith. We just do other stuff.
I ran into an old friend. I've been to council with her for 29 years, and I wasn't there. I was at BJ's, and she was just walking to checkout, and she was because I haven't missed one. I've missed a council, and she was so worried because that's our liaison. That's where we meet every year, and you weren't there. And I said, well, fill me in on what happened. And she's a very grounded Christian, and she said that it was a better council in some ways and not in others. That Bishop Stevens did a great job of kind of focusing on the faith of it, but she said they had small groups that she had, and in her small group, the two priests and the 2 other people in the group never said a word in their reflection about Christianity, Jesus, God, or the scenario that was set up. They only talked about how how I feel about doing what's being suggested to do. So she said that was the downer, because I'm at a church conference with priests and senior lay people, and in the small groups they don't talk about anything but themselves. So it's so sad.
That's a little depressing.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. The first thing is to delay as long as possible the moment in which he realizes this new pleasure is a temptation. So what does that mean? This new pleasure. So the new pleasure is talking with these people, being friends with these people. But somehow he's saying that it's going to become a temptation for him instead of just an action. And then he goes on to say that the enemy's servants have been preaching about the world. I preach about the world a lot. But he says they haven't done it very much recently. So I guess I'm different than that one. But I think what he's talking about here, the temptation, is that he will come to the realization of what he's doing, that he is not living into his faith, practicing his faith, not only sharing it, but living it. He wouldn't be in this group of people if he was living his faith. So once he knows that he's doing that, he's like at the beginning of this, up the top of the page, the bottom of the last paragraph was, he'll be hard for him to get out. He'll be in too deep. So now the temptation is that he stays in. He likes it in there. He likes hanging out with these people and chatting and laughing and being holier than thou from a cultural perspective. And it's a temptation to stay there and just live that way, to be like that, because it's fun. It's a good gig. So I'm saying that is the dichotomy that Screwtape wants Wormwood to set up. Get him to a place where he is being fed by the event, even though it's going against what he believes and what he knows he should be doing, but he wants to stay there anyway. let's see.
Who's Mammon? Or what is Mammon?
Oh, Mammon. That's let's see, where's the
About Mammon? It's like third sentence down.
oh yeah. World Temptations, 2000 years, I know writings thought with the more about Mammon. It's worldly consumption. It's the things. It's all the things. So Mammon is, what you can get, how you get it. That it's the world. It's the consumption of the world.
Okay.
And I like the idea of the reference to Puritanism.
Hmm.
And how that word Puritan has become ugly, and it has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be called a Puritan, do they?
No.
No, it's kind of over there with a fundamentalist. That same kind of let's see, Emily Thousand similarly will have the real nature too.
I'm extremist now.
Yeah, an extremist. That's exactly right. And then he gets into this wonderful phrase where he's living two parallel lives. No. And not realizing it until he's out of it. So he's one way with these people and doesn't realize it till he's away from them. And when he's with them, he doesn't pay any attention to the other life that he has that he should be living or that he normally lives. So it becomes almost like an escape, some place to go, to be away. But the problem is that the people he's talking to don't know he's doing it. That's why Screwtape says he becomes duplicitous to two groups of people, becomes lying and deceitful to two groups of people just by the action of it, because both groups think that he is steadfastly in that group, and really he's not. He's got this other life. He's towing both sides of the tracks here. And then the second to last paragraph, it says, thus, while being permanently treacherous to at least two sets of people, he will feel, instead of shame, a continual undercurrent of self-satisfaction. That's just pride. That's all it is, pride. Finally, if all else fails, you can persuade him that in defense of conscience, a continued and new acquaintance of the ground, that he is, in some unspecified way, doing these people good. I've heard that so many times from people that say, in fact, I can tell you that I know a woman who got married, fell in love and got married and her husband was not a Christian. And she said, I didn't do the wedding. I knew her after the wedding. And it was probably the second year. And she said, my husband's coming along. What does that mean? I said, well, he wasn't a Christian when we got married, but I knew that if I was with him, we were married, that he would change. He'd become a Christian because we were married and we're together. And about
By osmosis or something.
8 years later, they got a divorce because that doesn't work. You can't do that. I mean, if people are the way they are, I mean, I guess it can work, but I haven't heard it happening very often. It's really that if people are the way they are and they're not going to change just because, even if they get married, there's just two different people, two different worldviews. So she knew that going into that relationship and believed that she could fix him, change him and make him right. And just didn't work, You
see that a lot with people who marry alcoholics or drug addicts, and they think all they need is just the right person to love them.
Yep.
And they'll straighten up, and they don't.
Give me a chance. I can fix him.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can make him better.
Yep.
Okay. What did Screwtape say? I can do these people good by drinking their cocktails and laughing at their jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being that example. But the problem is that they don't know the example. He's just there being a fun guy. He's telling himself that being there with them is making a difference in their lives and leading them toward the direction that he wants that they should go. But he's not overtly doing that, so they don't know it. But he just feels that way, so he can tell himself it's okay if he keeps doing what he's doing because he's doing them good. Until they get divorced.
Sorry, I had to grab a phone call.
That's okay. Gotta do what you have to do. And that last little bit is very good. That
Yeah, it goes back to the whole puritanical, the extreme, you can't be any of these things because you would be ostracized from society, basically.
right, right. And a little kick in the backside as he's leaving, saying, make it obvious precaution that have him spend more than he can afford and neglect his mother.
Did you talk about the you probably already did, but laugh chuckling about the grocer and feeling that they're mocking the grocer, he's mocking the grocer.
No, we didn't. We skipped over that.
We touched it, but then we kept going.
Let's see, that's
The whole two-faced thing where you can go to church on Sunday beside the grocer because the grocer doesn't know what you did yet last night.
right. Yeah, that fits into that comedy saying being treacherous to two different people, two different groups. Because the grocer doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
The grocer just assumes he's not doing.
Right. Okay. Got it. The grocer could not possibly understand the urbane and mocking world which he inhabits on Saturday evening. So he thinks that's funny. He's trying to make him think that's funny, and he's better than that, or better than the grocer because he's out having fun the night before.
He's more sophisticated. Because remember, when he's with the people, he's doing them good. It's almost like he's evangelizing.
Yeah.
And the grocer doesn't do that. So
I must be better.
yep, all that and more.
Hanging out with better people.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, should we jump into 11?
Yeah.
Sure.
10, 11, and 12 are kind of a series. They hang in together. So you'll see that.
But I'm gonna have to listen because this thing goes straight to 15.
Yeah, it says 15, although then it says 12. So they just have a little typo there.
Okay.
Oh no, it does say 17. You're right. Oh, we are missing. Are we missing it then? Is it wrong?
They'd be missing 11 through 14 then.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah,
a lot.
16 and
Oops.
That's the text that you all are looking at.
yeah, just a link I found. It's been pretty good so far, except for some typos here and there.
How weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
You want to root around for a minute and find another.
Yeah, maybe.
You can probably listen and well, no, this thing says it's got 11, 12. What in the world? In the unclickable content, it has the 11, 12, 13, 14 letters. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Screwtape.
Letter 11.
Let's see.
Letter 11.
Okay, stop that. All right, say when.
When
You good, Catherine?
Yeah, give me one sec. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Letter 11. My dear Wormwood, everything is clearly going very well. I am especially glad to hear that the two new friends have now made him acquainted with their whole set. All these, as I find from the record office, are thoroughly reliable people, steady, consistent scoffers and worldlings who, without any spectacular crimes, are progressing quietly and comfortably towards our Father's house. You speak of their being great laughers. I trust this does not mean that you are under the impression that laughter as such is always in our favor. The point is worth some attention. I divide the causes of human laughter into joy, fun, the joke proper, and flippancy. You will see the first among friends and lovers reunited on the eve of a holiday. Among adults, some pretext in the way of jokes is usually provided, but the facility with which the smallest witticisms produce laughter at such a time shows that they are not the real cause. What that real cause is, We do not know. Something like it is expressed in much of that detestable art which the humans call music, and something like it occurs in heaven, a meaningless acceleration in the rhythm of celestial experience quite opaque to us. Laughter of this kind does us no good and should always be discouraged. Besides, the phenomenon is of itself disgusting and a direct insult to the realism, dignity, and austerity of hell. Fun is closely related to joy, a sort of emotional froth arising from the play instinct. It is very little use to us. It can sometimes be used, of course, to divert humans from something else which the enemy would like them to be feeling or doing, but in itself it has wholly undesirable tendencies. It promotes charity, courage, contentment, and many other evils. The joke proper, which turns on sudden perception of incongruity, is a much more promising field. I am not thinking primarily of indecent or bawdy humour, which, though much relied upon by second-rate tempters, is often disappointing in its results. The truth is that humans are pretty clearly divided on this matter into two classes. There are some to whom no passion is as serious as lust, and for whom any indecent story ceases to produce lasciviousness precisely in so far as it becomes funny. There are others in whom laughter and lust are excited at the same moment and by the same things. The first sort joke about sex because it gives rise to many incongruities. The second cultivate incongruities because they afford a pretext for talking about sex. If your man is of the first type, bawdy humour will not help you. I shall never forget the hours which I wasted, hours to be of unbearable tedium, with one of my early patients in bars and smoking rooms before I learned this rule. Find out which group the patient belongs to, and see that he does not find out. The real use of jokes or humour is in quite a different direction, and it is specially promising among the English, who take their sense of humour so seriously that a deficiency in this sense is almost the only deficiency of which they feel shame. Humour is for them the all-consoling, and mark this, the all-excusing grace of life. Hence, it is invaluable as a means of destroying shame. If a man simply lets others pay for him, he is mean. If he boasts of it in a jocular manner and twits his fellows with having been scored off, he is no longer mean, but a comical fellow. Mere cowardice is shameful. Cowardice boasted of with humorous exaggerations and grotesque gestures can be passed off as funny. Cruelty is shameful unless the cruel man can represent it as a practical joke. 1,000 bawdy or even blasphemous jokes do not help towards a man's damnation so much as his discovery that almost anything he wants to do can be done, not only without the disapproval, but with the admiration of his fellows, if only it can get itself treated as a joke. And this temptation can be almost entirely hidden from your patient by that English seriousness about humour. Any suggestion that there might be too much of it can be represented to him as puritanical or as betraying a lack of humour. But flippancy is the best of all. In the first place, it is very economical. Only a clever human can make a real joke about virtue, or indeed about anything else. Any of them can be trained to talk as if virtue were funny. Among flippant people, the joke is always assumed to have been made. No one actually makes it, but every serious subject is discussed in a manner which implies that they have already found a ridiculous side to it. If prolonged, the habit of flippancy builds up around a man the finest armour plating against the enemy that I know, and it is quite free from the dangers inherent in the other sources of laughter. It is 1,000 miles away from joy. It deadens instead of sharpening the intellect, and it excites no affection between those who practice it. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.
Okay. So pertinent. All right, so he's just jumping wholeheartedly into humor, isn't he? This is all about these four different categories: joy, fun, the joke proper, and flippancy. Of course, there are others that you could think of. or these terms you could change, but it really doesn't really matter. And I love the way that he explains, gives a little definition of each one. It's quickly dismissing joy, as right out of the box, and it says, did you catch this last line? Let's see, it's in the end of the second paragraph, where he says, besides, the phenomenon is of itself disgusting and a direct insult to realism, dignity, and the austerity of hell. And then he goes on, fun is closely related to joy. And at the bottom of that sentence, that one, he says, it is in itself holy and desirable. It promotes charity, courage, contentment, and many other
Evils.
evils. So he's using his own word, but he's using it to represent being godly. That evil is godly stuff, not his stuff.
It's hard to remember reading this stuff, the point of view that it's being written from.
Yeah, completely upside down.
Yeah.
Yep. The last, when he finally gets to flippancy, I have been in groups with people where, in fact, there's one of my colleagues that I just avoid like the plague when we're in groups, because this is all he is. This is what he does constantly. As soon as you say something, anything that you say, he will make a quip about it, a little quip. And pretty soon, people around, I've watched this happen, people around him, if they want to stay, start laughing. And they'll laugh even before he makes the quip, because they know it's coming. And I've been in that group and just been, I'm said, I can't laugh. This is not funny. And I'm kind of shocked by the other people that are doing it, because they didn't do it when they came to the group. They did it when they started doing it, when they stayed in the group. So it became like flippancy became infectious. They caught it. And when I'm not in a group with him and we have one-on-one conversations, he does it the whole conversation long. He can't stop doing it. It's just what he does. So you get this impression pretty quickly that you can't have any kind of serious conversation with him at all. Everything, no matter what you say, has a humorous take to it, to him, which he constantly throws back at you. It's exhausting, just exhausting. And like I say, you can't get anything done. There's no way to progress in any topic in any way. He was actually, I knew him years ago because I was head of a commission for the executive board, and he was on it. And we met in, was it Manassas? Fairfax. We went to Fairfax at a parish there, I think 5 times before the council met, and we didn't get anything done. Literally did not get anything done. Everything I proposed, all this little quips about everything, constantly going back and forth, and then I would say, okay, so you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and of course, while I'm saying this, he's making these comments like, oh yeah, because I'm the one who lives the farthest away, and everybody laughs. And he says, and he's going to do that, and he goes, oh, you give him the easy stuff, why'd you give me the hard stuff? And everybody laughs. And then he goes on and on and on. And then we get back together in a month and nobody would have done anything. It's like they forgot when they walked out of the meeting. So the meeting, the executive board meeting before council, just about 2 weeks before council, the bishop turned to me and he said, okay, Father Burke's going to give his report. What? So then we took a break. They said, well, we took a break. And he grabbed me in the hallway. He had like 3, Bishop Jones was there. He grabbed me and he said, do you have a report? I said, no, Bishop, I don't have a report. We didn't get anything done, number 1. And number 2, I didn't know I was supposed to have a report this time. I mean, if I knew I was supposed to have a report, I would have done it myself. So it was, he pulled me off it real quick and gave the report to this other person. And She made the report at council and then headed up the commission. And I was so happy because she inherited that group. And the next year, when she came back to council, the report was vacuous. There was nothing in it. It was a 20-minute long recitation of what they did and talked and blah, 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 but there was no end result. And I sat there thinking that's because the meetings were just the same.
I have a friend that is always, always clipping. I just do not enjoy his company so much anymore, but we were, as part of my friend group from college. And just today, I'm like, he always has to say something smart. One of our friends was in Charlottesville and sent pictures of, and it's beautiful there this time of year. And I just said, "What are you there for?" And she said, "Lunch," which isn't very descriptive, but okay, she went for lunch. She and they all live in Baltimore, Northern Virginia, so not Charlottesville. And so then he says, "They have a Subway in Northern Virginia too." Like,
Yeah.
what's the point of that?
Because Catherine, it's so funny.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I almost fell off my chair.
Yeah.
on text, especially like with this group, this group and a few others, like the UVA group in there, they're quipping, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, it's just not my humor, and I'm like, I don't even know why that's funny. It's not. It doesn't seem funny. I have no idea, and now I'm in a work group with all these 20-somethings, and they're doing all this, but they're just sending all these memes and saying things that I'm like, really have no idea. I mean, I can see what the meme is. It's a funny video of somebody doing something, and then they'll make a comment about something, and I'm like, I am old. I guess I'm getting
That sounds like my world up here.
no idea why it's supposed to be funny or what was funny about that comment or why they made that comment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully nobody will ever test me on this stuff.
Sounds like my
I will
everyday
not
as well.
have any kind of answer.
These
Well,
20
so-
things have their own language, and I can't understand them.
Yeah. Isn't flippancy kind of like sarcasm?
Yeah.
And it can be cruel and
Mhm.
hurt people. And
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. Some of the things that he would say were off color comments about a person, and the person he's talking about would laugh. And I'm thinking, are you hearing what he's saying?
And you
And
said
we
this
used to
was like
say about this
colleague?
guy, if he wasn't making fun of you, he didn't like you. I mean, we would make excuses like, oh, yeah, if you're not being treated badly, it's because he doesn't like you. It's so stupid now, in retrospect, but we certainly used it in college and thought, oh, he's so funny, haha,
Yep.
What were you saying, Alan? Sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, no, you said he was a colleague. Was he a clergyman? And he was talking like this?
Yeah.
That's even better.
I cannot imagine what he's like in his parish. I mean, he's like this all the time. It's what he is.
That's what I'm thinking. How does he, in his home parish, with his own parishioner? I don't know.
Well, maybe the sad thing what Screwtape is talking about here, it's this flippancy and I've seen it as I've shared with you, that it's contagious. That the people I know, that the other guy that was on that committee was not like that when he wasn't around this other priest. So when we got in the room with this other priest, after 5 or 6 minutes of him doing this, he joined right in. So I can vividly remember sitting at the table saying something like, we really have to get
back on task.
to the root of this. And I remember him looking at him and him looking at him, and he started this. The guy who is not like this just started laughing. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, I know. And then the other colleague that makes the things made the quip. So he was already laughing at something that he hadn't even said.
we just refer back to letter 10 because that's exactly what we were just talking about.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe Lewis was onto something here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember this. Every time I get to this one, I have these terrible memories that come back of being on that committee and living through that for months and months and months every time I went up there. Just hateful, horrible. But yeah, I think that the only way that he's in his parish is that it must be the people around him in his parish are the same. Or if they're not, they join in with him when they're there, like it's contagious and they get stuck in it.
You would think they'd have to, or else they would maybe pursue get rid of him.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't be around him. I've known him again for almost 30 years, and he's that's the way he is. Not like it's something he does when he's in group. He does it all the time, everywhere. Horrible, just horrible. What do we got here? 8:23. Should we go into 12 or should we wait?
I was going to ask about the lasciviousness and
Oh yeah.
he's splitting people into two parties, but I don't quite understand them. I feel like I should, but I'm not quite there.
Where is that?
Starts with the joke proper, the paragraph that starts with the joke proper.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Kind of
Truth is
everything. Yeah.
clearly divided on this matter into
Oh, they
two.
did.
There are some to whom no passion is as serious as lust,
Right.
and for whom an indecent story ceases to produce lasciviousness precisely insofar as it becomes funny. That makes no sense to me. I read it like 3 times. I'm like, I'm not sure what that is saying.
So if for those there are some whom no passion is as serious as lust, for whom an indecent story ceases to produce lasciviousness precisely insofar as it becomes funny, because they're serious about lust. Lust is not a laughing matter for them. They are passionate about being lustful, and lusting is where they live. And so to make jokes about it is belittling the way that they feel.
Okay.
So that's one group. Then the other group, there are others for whom laughter and lust are excited in the same moment and by the same thing. The first sort joke about sex because it gives rise to incredulity. So this is I mean, when I think about this, I think about high school boys. In the locker room, joking about the girl, but they're joking about the girl, but they're serious. If they could just get to that position, that's what they would do. So this is the group that use the joke about sex to begin to talk about sex in a real way.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to joke about it to keep the discussion alive. So that group and the other group can't talk.
Okay.
Because the first group are serious about it, and they're not making a mockery of how they feel about it. They don't want to joke about it.
Got it.
Yeah.
In the hours that were unbearable tedium where he was doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why he says if your man is of the first type, body humor will not help you, because off-color humor he's not going to find it funny.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unbearable tedium.
Yeah, that was funny.
Sense of humor, all excusing humor is for unconcealed rise and all excusing grace of life. Yeah. Comical fellow. I like the way that he really is self-effacing about the English.
I was noticing that these last couple of letters, he seems to be going into that.
Yeah, he really cuts down his own, but that makes sense. That's the people he knows the best, right?
But it is also true. It's funny that he can see it, because a lot of times you can't really see what your own faults are.
Well, it's strange. I've watched news reports from British Parliament from when they're having, like we're having, they would gone through some bad stretches.
That is the best entertainment you can find.
Yeah, it is. I can't.
Prime Minister's Questions Day.
I don't know how they get along doing that kind of, but when they talk about it, they'll use little injunctions of humor about it, like little like a quip almost. But people don't laugh, but they just keep going. It's just that's why we say that English have dry humor. It's dry because they think it's funny, but they don't seem to participate.
Or they don't seem to get the joke.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think they do, but they don't enter into it. They're just all dry. They're not gonna be a part of it. This is along the same lines as the one where he says that English will give tea and biscuits to the first German soldier that lands in their backyard.
Mm.
Yeah. Now we shouldn't start. Now it's 8:27. So we are 8:27. All right, guys. We've gotten 2 letters. So we got to 12. 12 is a great letter. 12 has got a lot in it. And a very nice quote, which strikes real close to home. So we'll look forward to getting into that one next time. 12 and 13.
But the link I sent here late is a different link I had with the missing letters. So I don't know if you found a good one, Catherine, or.
I found a good one too. That actually this one looks ancient. Not ancient, but
older, like a
cool signature of Screwtape at the bottom of each bottom letter. Carol sent it to you.
Okay. And the one I have is all the way across the screen, though, so you have to
Yeah, and
this as you read it.
the beginning letter is all fancy and this, I don't know what
That sounds neat. I haven't seen that.
yeah, what kind of, I don't know. There's probably a word for it that I just can't think right now. It's the end of the day like this, and I can't describe anything.
Oh yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah,
You like that?
Yeah, he's got a little wood plate or something there that started off. And the script is very nice. Well, I might just keep this one.
yeah. And the nice little signature of Screwtape at the bottom of the plate.
Yeah, this is really nice. Wow, thank you.
Yeah, well, you just have to. I just happened upon it.
All right, I'll give that a good look and save it to my favorites.
All right.
All right, guys.
Are
Have
we
a
gonna meet?
wonderful night. I hope it goes well for you. Good sleeps.
All right. Are we gonna meet next week or not?
I guess I won't be here.
Well, Alan's be coming home here, so he might be
What?
still on the road.
Thursday, is that Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah, no meeting next week. I will be leaving on Wednesday morning
Okay.
for the beach. Be down at a beach house in the cold beach.
Ooh,
So yeah,
anytime at the beach is good.
yeah, I love it.
It could be snow on it.
Yeah, I love going there and onto the beach on Thanksgiving. It's perfect.
Well, everybody have a good weekend. Good week.
Absolutely.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Well, I guess
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
I will see y'all on Sunday, but I'm
Yep.
going to speak to you.
Sunday. Awesome.
Yep, sounds good.
You don't want to come Saturday and help with the stew?
I'm not coming out. I'm coming down Wednesday. I'll have some stew.
This week, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Purchase and consume
Next
some.
following Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I thought you meant you were coming this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Okay. No,
I'll make it furloughed this weekend and not have any work to do next week. But we'll see what happens there.
Oh,
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Take care. Have a great night.
travels, everybody.
Right. You too.
Yeah, we'll see you.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye, Mom.